Good evening. This is the Elliott Wave update for the NASDAQ 100 and the S&P 500 for Wednesday, February the 7th, 2024. Markets made some good progress today in terms of finishing up this very long rally period, and particularly finishing the rally that the last leg up, which I believe began last Wednesday. So where we are, I'm just going to start right away here on the hourly chart in the NASDAQ. And last night I had labeled 1, 2. So minuet 1 and minuet 2, suggesting that we needed to rise and do it quickly and without looking back, basically, to convince or to show that wave 3 was actually in force. And that is happening. And basically right now, it kind of looks like we've done 1, 2, 3, a little 4, and we're going to get a 5. Now, I actually don't think that that's going to be all of 3, because wave 3 would be equal to wave 1 up here at 18,114.75. So I think if anything, we're going to get either that or we're going to get a very nice extended fifth wave within this small third. Now, or it's going to turn into be, if we get a little bit, a new high above 17,878, which is where we were today. If we get a new high above that, actually 875.50 was the high, then it could be sub-minuet wave 1 of minuet wave 3. So it could be subdividing in and of itself, in which case, if that happens, this rally could take us all the way well above 18,000, well above 18,100. So we're going to have to play it day by day. Again, the catalyst and what's really going to drive this, today in the NASDAQ, it was a little bit more broad-based, which added to the fact that the NASDAQ was up 200. But leading the charge was the same. It was the Mag 7. It was Meta. It was Microsoft. It was NVIDIA. And then eventually the others caught on. Apple still struggling to stay higher. In fact, Apple opened up, I think, over $1 this morning, traded up a little bit, traded it back down, traded back below. It was down on the day, traded back up. So it's having a lot of trouble just holding gains and working its way back towards its all-time high. And then again, possibly above 200. So, but the stock itself is not really giving us any strong hints that that's going to be happening. We'll wait and see. In any case, we majorly advanced today was back in Meta, which after consolidating the last couple of days, picked up the rally again and is heading higher one more time. Same thing with NVIDIA. In fact, NVIDIA right now closed at 701, basically a penny shy, and is already being bid $5 higher. So one would think that we should continue this particular rally phase and get it going again. Now, for example, like yesterday, NVIDIA carried most of the weight on what was happening in the index overall. So I just want to check one thing because I just saw that. Yeah, well, poor PayPal. Was going to drag it down. I just noticed that PayPal put out their earnings, and I guess they're not being well accepted by the market. The stock is not down a huge amount. It's not even down $2. It's down about $1.50. So from the close, that is. In any case, back to the chart. I am going to be looking for this to continue. In fact, it needs to get itself, first of all, above today's high, and then above 17,900. So here's our resistance point still in effect. Now, the 0.618, which is 17,903, resting point. And maybe it's just going to be a resting point for this initial 5 up to start to kick off that third wave. that's going to be, kind of one of the paths that I think the market could take. Now, understandably as well, 535, we start to begin to look at the possibility that minute wave 5 can also then start to break into what we would consider a diagonal, which is kind of like back and forth, but eventually it's going to force its way higher and will get narrower. The channel line will get narrower and narrower as it works its way up to that pinnacle and ultimately its high. Now we'll be able to measure that a little bit differently should it start to form and make it obvious that that's kind of what the market is intending to do. Right now, I think that if we are going to make any pullbacks from here, then we're likely going to be holding probably towards today's lows, and that's 17,775. Actually, that low was 79, so I'm going to say down to 75. If I had to stick some fibs on there, the first one that we could put on is going to be just a very simple retracement. If this was a small little internal third, we did get down to 382, and you saw that held again. That was 17,075. I'm going to say, come on, give me that number. 81. Sorry, 17,781. Now we have down below that 17,752. That was the secondary level. And so we might, if this does not go up and break, but we get some additional downside prior, then because we're not getting up, we're close, but we're still a good $40 away from the high, today's high. And so that would suggest that we come back down and have that chance of getting at 17,752. Now that would just be the short-term, very short-term downside target should the market begin to retrace back. And it starts to drop back lower versus higher. And then again, we still have, Globex coming on in an hour and a half. So much can happen. But I'm not looking for it to really start to break down from here. Unless, of course, we're getting an ABC, but that would have to stop. We wouldn't be able to do that without this thing going above not today's high, finishing this move up, even this move, 1, 2, 3, 4. So no matter how I look at it, it needs an additional high above today's high to complete several levels and to then produce maybe a little bit larger of a pullback. So all in all, today did kind of put some things more so in place, and that we're not going to go back down and retest the lows that we saw yesterday. B, that it's likely going to break above 17,900, and C is likely going to possibly form either a small, extended third wave on the sub minuet level, and then we'll look for things to get much higher in terms of where this minute fifth wave can get. Right now, we continue to have where minute wave 5, which is what we're currently in, would be equal to minute wave 1 at 17,929. Now, I'm thinking in my mind that could be a level that maybe just finishes sub-minuet wave 1 of minuet wave 3, all in this area. That finishes that first leg, we pull back, and then we cruise up to these upper levels. So again, we'll wait and see what the market does. Moving averages, everything's now back in alignment. There's the 200, the 100, the 50, the 20, the 8, all back in alignment to continue to move higher. Over in the S&P, as I said, if and when it breaks above 5,000, it should just kind of perk itself up. Because I can only imagine there was a bunch of stops sitting right there, and they got up there and they got triggered, and the S&P continued, And in fact, today's high was right there, 5,020. Now we continued to have some resistance at 5,024, but that is kind of gone because I've relabeled what I feel the market is doing. And again, similar and equal to what the NASDAQ is doing, I believe within Minute Wave 5, which began on the 31st of January, we have Minuet Wave 1, Minuet Wave 2. So that much I'm going to label. Instead of it being 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're in the fifth, can that still be a possibility? It can. But now I want to see how this all pans out above 5,000. Because under the current, we'd be looking for a third wave to equal wave 1 at 5,061. We have minute wave 5 being 1.618 times the length of minute wave 1 at 5,086. And above that, we have the primary B wave irregular, right? So that fib that goes along with the primary B being an irregular, which it is. It already can be declared that because we've gone above the 2022 high at 4808. So we're well above it. So, but the most common fib is right here, 1.236, and that is at 5116, and that's been long-standing. That's just kind of sat there. It's just been there for a while. Next up for that, once if we were to exceed 5,086 for minute wave 5, our next would fall up much higher at 5225. Can you see how they start to build, and we can separate them just because we now, instead of a minuet fifth wave, we're working on a minuet third wave. 100%, 5,062, I'm going to call it. Now, being that I would suspect that wave 3 should be the longest, therefore I would look for a little bit more. And, if it got to 5,086, that could be the third wave. We drop back. A stronger rally within this third wave could be expected to, first of all, carry it up to here, or in terms of where this third wave could come in, 5142. So you can see how the labeling and the fibs start to continue to suggest that the rally remains intact for right now, that we still have additional highs to put in. And I'm not in any way changing that larger structure, which is a primary B wave. So we're just in that finishing cycle of it. And we're just now moving up into all of the above 5,000. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of things written about it. In any case, just moving this all back down so we can take a look at what's inside this thing. Again, we kind of have 1, ding, 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 2. And, we'd have to say 2 is there, possibly there. That could be 1, and that's a B, B, C, and then we start again. 1, 2, 3. So those are all the internals within this third. But I would suspect we should at least, we need another big day. I just really, two things. It's either going to be an ABC and the 1 is going to go up here, or it's going to move itself above 5,062 and give me a little bit more so that wave 3 becomes the longest. Not necessarily the strongest, but the longest wave. And the reason that I continue to say that is because if it isn't and wave 1 continues to hold that it is the longest wave within this sequence, it puts a lot of pressure on the count. It puts a lot of pressure on wave 5. So if wave 5 really extends, if wave 5 explodes, etc., then best to leave it that wave 1 would be the shortest wave, which is why I'm always looking for a little bit more. It just keeps the count even and easier. Okay, so that's really it. I don't really have a whole lot more to be adding today. If we're looking at pullbacks from here, I think that the market can pull back to here, which is just about 5,002 now. Will look like it's going to start to become support, and that's the initial from today when we ran up and we came back down. We came back down to 5,002. Beyond that, we would have 49.92, and I can begin to, let's see, 1, 2, and let's see if we can go from here. And I just put in just some basics. I don't think this third wave is over, but if the market thinks that it is, then you can see that we have right there, right below 5,002. We have 236 is just above it at 5,004. The 382 is 49.95. So you see that we do have some good support for this rally to continue. Now, if this contained and finished that small third within this third, then we'd be looking for a market to come back maybe to 49.95 and hold, even back down and giving a retest to 5,002, which is that previous, and then turning the rally machine back on. So from this stage, I would look for pullbacks to be not deep. I would not expect the market to start breaking these higher levels where we would find support. If it should occur, it would then begin to lean towards the larger move. Let me just kind of pull this back in. Right, we're in minute wave 5. It would start to suggest that within minute wave 5, it is forming a diagonal triangle. So again, what was that? What would it require? It would be labeled ABC, still 535, but an ABC. Now, that's the case. So we get up here and we finish this move, then you'd be looking for, and it would be labeled minuet wave 1. Then we'd be looking for a larger pullback in a wave 2. Also 3 waves, just like we saw here. But now we get it up here and possibly back to those same levels. Possibly. Again, we'll measure and we'll look if that indeed is going to be the case. So again, what I'm also saying that now for is because if we don't get this rally come back up here, but we do get a drop that brings us back down into this area, and it's coming off in 3, then it's going to be much cleaner to say ABC 1, ABC 2. So yet to be determined. Again, just following the market. Again, today, the market held these levels for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, quite a while. Most of the day. Got up there and then just stayed up there. Both NASDAQ and the S&P. All right, that's going to be it. Now, let me just take a look, at least for analysis. Let me take a look and see what's coming out number-wise tomorrow. We have jobless claims, wholesale inventories, and still another Fed president, Tom Barkin, will be out speaking somewhere. So initial jobless claims, yeah, could have a pull in either direction. Wholesale inventory is the same. All right, that's going to be it for today. The next update will be on Thursday, February the 8th.